Hi guys, I'm Matt Sorensen. Today I'm going to talk to you about food and research. Probably not in the way you're expecting to hear about food and research, simply because we all have our own biochemical individuality. If you haven't heard of that term, there is a really good book called Biochemical Individuality by Roger Williams I would highly recommend. And the book shows that we all have our own individual biochemical individuality. So what that means is that we all require different nutrients. We all respond to different foods. You can have a 1000% difference in nutrient levels from person to person. That includes family members, even twins. So the concept I'm going to throw out there today is research. And what I mean by research, if you read between the lines of research, it's all really subjective to you as a person, as an individual. All the evidence-based research out there, if you read between the lines, all comes back to subjective viewpoint. So we want to research ourselves in order to find what foods work for us as individuals. You can have all the superfoods on the planet, especially for immune function during this coronavirus weirdness that we're all going through. You can have all those superfoods, but if your body doesn't react to them, or it does react to them unfavorably, then that food is less than useless to you. And what's going to happen is that you will actually invoke an immune response that will actually suppress the immune system, making you more and more tired. So, as an example, it's been well documented that eggs are a superfood of nature, and yes, they are. But personally, I can't have eggs. If I have eggs, I get a runny nose, croaky throat, and sometimes like a phlegmy kind of cough. So that's my immune system responding to that food, but that's just me personally. And I had to do that through researching myself. So we all have foods that we like to eat. Now we all know that things like sugar, alcohol, caffeine, all these types of things have a certain response with the immune system of our body. And what I tell clients and patients is that you have to find what works for you. So that's why I wrote this book, Doing the Wrong Things Right. I wrote this initially for patients and clients who kept asking me, especially towards the end of a session, what should I be eating? How do I have this? How do I have that? So in the book, I show you the healthiest way to have things like coffee, alcohol, sugar, salt, grains, etc. And with this book, it will show you not only typically where those cravings come from, psychologically speaking, but also ways that you can still enjoy your vices and remain healthy. So essentially it's a guide on how to cheat food effectively. And all these foods like sugar, alcohol, coffee, etc., it's not necessarily something we have to live without, but it will pay dividends in the long run to have it the healthiest way possible, especially for these foods that we have to have or can't live without. So what I show patients is there's typically a short and expensive way to find out, or there's a long and cheap way to find out. The short and expensive way to find these things out is to simply get food tested. You can get food sensitivity tests at your local naturopath or GP these days. That's a simple blood test that takes 10 to 20 minutes, and usually you'll have a result within a day or so. It will list all the things that you have high intolerance to, moderate intolerance to, and low intolerance to, and you can avoid as prescribed. The long and cheap way to do this is, as Paul recommends, the caveman diet, which is simply cutting out nuts, grains, seeds, and dairy for 7 to 10 days, reintroducing one of those food groups in at a time, and see how your body responds. So most people that do this and stick to it, the worst case I've had working with people, I think the client lost about 2 kilos, and that was just purely a fluid. Because important to realize that if you're consuming a food that you're not designed to have, and it's different for everyone, you can cut up one banana and give it to 10 people, you'll get 10 different results. So there's no one thing that works for everyone. While you have one atom of that food in your system, if you respond negatively to that food, while it's in your system, you'll keep promoting inflammation and suppressing your immune system the entire time that food stays in your system. And food stays in your system up to around 55 hours or 3 days. So this is where the 4-day rotation diet can come into its own. So that's just a little sneak peek on how to research yourself in this time where our immune system is more important than ever during this pandemic. Until next time, find what works for you.